Hi, this is Dan Runcie, founder of Trapital, and you're listening to Your Morning Coffee, your place for weekly insights on the new music business with Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart.
From our friend Glenn Peoples over at Billboard, 2024 mid-year music industry revenue report is out. YouTube is unparalleled in its ubiquity, but music subscription services pay the bills.
Also from Billboard, why fan pages are becoming artists' most useful and cheapest marketing tool.
And from Slate, Spotify has a fake band problem. It's a sign of things to come. Well, Jay, so much to talk about today. We've got a lot of great stories. We're super glad you are here. So Jay and I are going to put the stylus down on the vinyl right about now.
Stand by for transmission.
This is London calling.
Wake up! The revolution is at hand!
Your morning coffee is on the air. 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 Standing by. Your morning coffee, the weekly music news for the new music business. It's the highly curated, agitated, advocated, moderated, and liberated digital music information that you need to know. We are your digital music authority. And now from our studios in Hollywood, California, here's your hosts, Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart.
Try to click with what you got. Taste every potion. Cause if you like yourself a lot, go let it out. Go let it in. And go let it out. Pickle the bass. Life is precocious in the most peculiar way. Sister psychosis don't got a lot to say. She gon' let it out. She gon' let it in. She gon' let it out. She gon' let it out. She gon' let it in. She gon' let it out.
Jay, so good to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh my God, that was Go Let It Out by the English rock band Oasis, written by the band's lead guitarist and chief songwriter Noel Gallagher. That was released, believe it or not, back on February 7th of 2000 as the first single from their fourth studio album, Standing on the Shoulder of Giants.
Yeah, and the reason
Great
we're playing that is Oasis was all over the news this week. You know, the Washington Post had a piece, and the headline was, Oasis is reuniting after one of the nastiest feuds in rock. And the headline from Rolling Stone, Oasis add 3 dates to reunion tour due to unprecedented demand. So hell hasn't frozen over, but Oasis have reunited.
Or so it seems. So 15 years after their breakup, brothers Liam and Noel Gallagher have apparently put aside their differences, announcing a run of concerts in the UK and Ireland for 2025. The group announced the Oasis Live 25 tour early Tuesday morning, though details on North American shows have yet to be announced.
Yeah, there was a great article, another one in Rolling Stone. This one was from Andy Green, and the headline was, The Oasis Reunion, 6 Burning Questions We Have About a Possible Tour. It seems like the Gallagher brothers are actually getting back together, but there's still a ton that we don't know about it. So let's look at those 6 things.
Right. So the first one is, after years of public discord, what motivated Liam and Noel Gallagher to reunite?
Right. And the second question, are the Gallagher brothers back on speaking terms?
The third question is, who will play guitar in Oasis? Though no mention of the other guys that were in the original band.
No.
We'll see.
No, and the same. Who's going to play drums? That's the other question.
Well, and then the fifth question is, how long can any Oasis possibly last? Any version?
Right. And the final one, will Oasis record a new album? You and I love Oasis, and we hope that they can bury the hatchet for good. We'll see how it goes.
We will see how it goes. We have our fingers and toes crossed that maybe we can see them live. I've never seen them live. I've certainly seen YouTube videos of them live, but I've never saw the band live, and I hope I can.
I got to work with Sony early on and got to see their first trip to America, and in a small club actually. And
I bet.
And it looks exactly like the show that you see at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, we'll see. By the way, Tidal was in the news this week. There was a piece in Music Business Worldwide by Daniel Tenser, of course, with the headline, Tidal launches tool for U.S. songwriters to claim and manage their work.
Yeah, we support anything that helps songwriters. So I spoke to Tidal Global Head of Product, Agustina Sacerdote, and I probably butchered her name when we were talking, but she is an absolute sweetheart, and we had a great conversation. Let's listen in. Agustina, good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Jay. I'm excited to talk to you.
Tidal recently launched a suite of new songwriter tools, and we're all about the songwriters here. Tell us about those new tools.
So we're at Tidal, we're all about being artist first. And as part of the Block ecosystem of companies, we're really focused on economic empowerment. And at Tidal, that means making sure that every artist can afford to make music full time. And as we were talking to artists and co-developing tools for them, it became really obvious to us that there's this whole segment of the music ecosystem that has been historically just underserved by technology tools, and that's songwriters. There literally would be no songs without songwriters. And so what we have done with this new experience is basically make it a lot easier for a songwriter to register with their PRO. This is the societies that distribute the royalties that they're owed, to make sure that all of their compositions are appropriately categorized and tagged as their own, that their split sheets are correct, and that those compositions are matched with their recordings. All of these things need to be properly documented with the right organizations for a songwriter to get paid. And right now, all of those things and all of that data lives in a bunch of multiple places. So if you're a songwriter that is managing themselves and you're doing your own administrative work around your craft, you're spending a lot of hours just tracking stuff down. And so on Tidal, we've made it a lot easier for you to just come in, claim your profile as a songwriter, and edit and manage all of that in one place.
Awesome. So where can songwriters sign up? Where can they learn more?
Yeah. So you should go to tidal.com/4artists, and you will see that we have a link there to register for our new tools. You can be a songwriter/artist. You could be just a pure songwriter, and we'll take you to the right experience from there.
All right. Agustina, thank you so much. We'll talk again.
Thank you so much.
Wow, fascinating. Good stuff.
Yeah,
very interesting.
I love that they're supporting songwriters, and I hope all DSPs take on similar initiatives.
Yeah, for sure. Yelp is in some hot water, by the way, this week. There was a piece in Rolling Stone by Ethan Millman with the headline, Concert Venues Accuse Yelp of pushing fake tickets.
Oh boy. You know, the National Independent Venue Association, that's NIVA, they're calling out Yelp over claims that the review site is putting misleading or fake concert ticket listings on venue Yelp pages, with NIVA sending a letter to the company's CEO, that's Jeremy Stoppelman, late last week, demanding that these listings get taken down.
Right. So in the letter, NEVA Executive Director Stephen Parker wrote that Yelp website, in quotation marks, redirects users from purchasing legitimate tickets at face value from small businesses and nonprofits, instead sending them to a Yelp-branded ticket network website that is price gouging and selling fake tickets.
Right. Parker tells Rolling Stone, this is a brand that has built a lot of trust for transparency and is being a neutral arbiter for customer reviews. On its face, Yelp is a brand that has nothing to do with ticketing. But now, we dig into these deceptive links. It's leading consumers down a path where they either pay a lot more money than they need to, or they get tickets that ultimately aren't going to work.
So in a statement to Rolling Stone on Tuesday, a Yelp spokesperson said that the company's mission has been to connect people with great local businesses, including independent venues. The spokesperson thanked NEVA for bringing their concerns about Ticket Network to our attention and said Yelp has taken immediate steps to turn off that integration. Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very interesting. Well, Jay, before we jump into the stories, what do you say we thank our sponsors? We certainly appreciate their participation every week.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Special thank you to Music.ai. Music.ai is a trailblazing AI-powered music and audio platform offering expansive suite of over 50 stackable AI audio solutions. Want to change the tempo or pitch of your song, adjust instruments or vocals, mute background noise, that's easy for you to say. Music.ai makes it super easy. Embraced by record labels, agencies, tech firms, and developers, Music.ai is synonymous with audio innovation. With over 45 million users, their tools process 2 million musics of audio every day. They can process yours. Visit Music.ai to get started.
Yeah, wonderful tools. Really cool stuff. And by the way, our podcast is also brought to you by friends over at Bandzoogle. Built by musicians for musicians, Bandzoogle is an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to build a stunning website and online store for your music in minutes. All the features you need are already built in, including dozens of fully customizable templates, tools to sell your music and merch commission-free crowdfunding and fan subscription features, mailing list tools to grow your fan list, integrations with Bandcamp, SoundCloud, YouTube, Bands in Town, and more, so you can easily add content from your other online profiles, and live support from their musician-friendly team 7 days a week. Website plans start at just $8.29 a month, which includes hosting and your own free custom domain name. Our podcast listeners can jump over to bandzoogle.com to try it free for 30 days and use the promo code MORNINGCOFFEE, that is all one word, to get 15% off the first year of any subscription. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code Morning Coffee.
Yeah, and a special thank you to our friends over at Hypebot. Since 2004, Hypebot has chronicled the new music industry and the trends and technologies that are changing how music is discovered, consumed, marketed, and monetized. It's edited daily by founder Bruce Houghton with help from Alana Bonilla. Hypebot and sister blog Music Think Tank are published by live music discovery and marketing platform Bands in Town.
Yes, indeed. Bands in Town. We use and love Bands in Town. Over 80 million live music fans trust Bands in Town to get personalized concert alerts, recommendations, and messages from their favorite artists. It is the #1 artist service platform connecting over 590,000 artists with their super fans. Managers, labels, agencies, and artists access their own dashboard to manage and promote their tour dates across all platforms.
Right, and finally, a big thank you to Billboard Pro. You want to know what everybody in the music industry is talking about? Get in the know with Billboard Pro. Billboard is offering Your Morning Coffee readers and listeners a special 50% discount off the price of your subscription. Click on the link in Your Morning Coffee.
Yes, indeed. Big thanks again to our amazing sponsors, Bandzoogle, Music.ai, Hypebot, and Bands in Town. And I could not do it with the man who never sleeps, my good friend Jay Gilbert. He's a music industry consultant, the curator of the weekly Your Morning Coffee newsletter, and a chap who's worked with many different companies, including Universal Music, Sony Music, and Warner Music Groups.
Yes, sir. And I am so thrilled to be able to do this with my good friend Mike Etchart every week, longtime host of Sound and Vision Radio, formerly of SST Records, Warner Music, Capital EMI, and Universal Music Group.
Yes, indeed, 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 indeed. Well, Jay, it's time to jump into the stories.
Let's do it. So let's dive into the first story. And like you mentioned, this is from Glenn Peoples at Billboard. 2024 mid-year industry revenue report. TikTok TikTok creates viral hits. YouTube is unparalleled. Boy, I'm just choking on this stuff. In its ubiquity, but music subscription services pay the bills.
Indeed, U.S. recorded music revenue rose 3.9% to $8.65 billion in the first half of 2024. The increase was due mainly to gains in streaming revenue and a jump in vinyl sales, though growth was down significantly from other post-pandemic years.
That's right. And there's a link to this report in your morning coffee. Glenn breaks it down beautifully. He says that the U.S. recorded music market grew a little bigger in the first half of 2024, but not by much. The retail value of total industry revenue reached $8.65 billion, and this is according to the RIAA, and thanks mainly to a modest gain in streaming and a jump in vinyl sales.
So while the period's revenue is a record for the first half of a year, it marked just a 3.9% gain from the prior year's period. Now, the U.S. market has returned to a more workmanlike trajectory. I hope this is not going to be one of those things I stumble over. No. Putting high single-digit and double-digit gains in the rearview mirror, unfortunately. By contrast, revenue was up 8.8% and 9% in the first half of 2022 and 2023, respectively. In the first half of 2021, as paid and ad-supported streaming benefited from pandemic-era lockdowns that drove consumers to their devices, revenue skyrocketed to 27%.
Yeah, let's talk about vinyl. Glenn reports that vinyl EP and LP sales totaled 24.3 million units, and that's up almost 11%, and they're valued at $739.9 million. That's up 17%, the revenue. Other physical formats gained too, but the distance between them and vinyl grew larger. CD sales improved just, 0.3%. The other category encompassing, cassettes, CD singles, vinyl singles, DVD audio, SACD, that improved 66.6%, but it's only $13.2 million.
So physical sales increased its percentage of total revenue to 11.4%. That's from 10.5% in the year prior period and 10.2% in the first half of 2022. Vinyl has doubled its share of the market in 5 years, reaching 8.5% of U.S. total revenue. That's up 4.2% in the first half of 2020.
Yeah, streaming still dominates, of course, all that industry revenue, and provided the single biggest dollar gain of all categories. Total streaming revenue grew almost 4% to $7.3 billion, and it accounted for over 84% of total revenue, equal to the year-ago period. Paid subscription revenue hit $5.23 billion. That's up over 5%, leading all streaming categories by a wide margin. The average number of subscribers reached 99 million, up just 2.6%. Suggesting record labels benefited from price increases by Spotify and other DSPs.
Right. So other streaming segments had a smaller impact or lost ground over the past year. Limited tier paid subscription revenue dropped 4.1%. That's to $503 million. Limited tier services have limited catalogs, interactivity, restrictions, or other factors that differ from premium subscription plans, by the way. Ad-supported on-demand revenue rose 2.5%. That's to $899 million. Sound exchange distributions were $517 million. That's up 3.9%. Other ad-supported streaming, statutory streaming services not distributed by Sound Exchange, they fell 2.7% to a little under $160 million.
Well, let's talk about downloads. Remember those? Download sales, once they were the cornerstone of the U.S. market not that long ago. Downloads declined in share for the 14th straight year, no shocker there, and amounted to, get this, 2% of industry revenue now, just 2%. Wow. Total download sales fell almost 16% to about $189.7 million. And that means that track and digital album sales fell 16.1% and 18.5% respectively. Ringtones, people still do ringtones? Ringtones and ringbacks dropped 51.1%, but it's only $2.9 million, so it's a drop in the bucket, really. The other digital category, which includes kiosks and music video downloads, grew 22% to $17.1 million. My ringtone is Eddie Van Halen doing Eruption, and it's been that way for, I think, 25 years. Because I never really use a ringtone anymore. I just have vibrate, right? So if I have it in my pocket, and you can set the vibration. You know, I have one that's one for my daughter and one that's one for my wife. And, you know, like I can kind of get a sense of who's calling me.
Oh, who's calling? Oh,
but
yeah, that's
I don't ever, do you ever have your ringtone on?
No, never. But I still do digital downloads. I still buy digital downloads because I want to just own them in my catalog. So, So synchronization royalties dropped 9.8% to $200.9 million. That's a sharp contrast to sizable gains of a little over 25% and almost 30% in the first half of 2022 and 2023, respectively, which is kind of interesting, actually. In a statement, RIAA Chairman CEO Mitch Glaser highlighted revenue reaching a record $8.7 million in the evolving music ecosystem. He said, spanning multiple licensing avenues from fitness apps to short-form video, artists and labels are embracing innovation with responsible partners so more Americans can engage with their favorite music however, whenever, and wherever they choose, he said. This sustained growth fuels innovation and reflects music's incredible value, laying the foundation for a healthy creative ecosystem where artists and songwriters' vision can flourish over generations.
Wow.
That is a lovely sentiment.
Very eloquent, Mitch.
Very well written,
Nicely,
Mitch.
Nicely done. In other words, you know, things are still growing mainly, but just not as fast as they used to. Our second story this week comes from us, from our friend Elias Slate from Billboard. The headline was, Why Fan Pages Are Becoming Artists' Most Useful and Cheapest Marketing Tool. He starts the piece off by saying that as digital promotion becomes a volume battle, interesting, fan pages are increasingly allowing artists and labels to flood the zone while keeping their own hands clean.
Yeah, so the electronic producer Odatari is popular on TikTok, where he has more than 2.5 million followers. He posts maybe 3 to 5 times a week, probably even less, according to Alec Henderson, who's the VP of Digital Strategy at Artist Partner Group, which signed Odatari last year. That's often not enough to satiate a global audience consuming social media 24/7.
Right, so they came up with a workaround. Quote, a lot of what we do internally at APG is create multiple profiles for artists across social channels, and we'll run fan pages in-house for our artists. And that comes from Corey Calder. He's the SVP of Marketing and Creative Services for APG. He went on to say, we utilize these fan pages to continuously serve artist audiences with content.
So the music industry has become increasingly interested in the marketing potential of these fan pages, which can churn out a lot of posts, song snippets, concert footage, backstage shenanigans, and more, but don't cost much or require the actual artist to do more work. Some fan pages are started by ardent followers, others by the artist's own team or even label.
Yeah, my favorite line, it's not fraud, it's marketing. Either way, they function like having a media outlet at your disposal at all times. And that's from Laura Spinelli, a digital marketing manager for Shopkeeper Management. For Tim Collins, co-founder of the digital marketing agency Creed Media, fan pages can tell the story of an artist without the artist having to be the voice.
So, of course, fan pages have existed for as long as the internet. While initially listeners had to actively seek them out and follow them, now the most popular social media platforms are all driven by powerful algorithms, which feed their users videos and posts according to their taste profile. This means that even passive supporters can be served fan pages, expanding their reach.
Right. You might like an official Odatari post, and then, that serves up information to the app that, he is an interest to you. Henderson explains. Our fan pages will almost eat off of that because then the app is going to serve you more content related to that artist.
So for labels, fan pages can hopefully serve as a cost-efficient alternative to influencers. Marketers have been complaining about the saturation of advertising efforts on TikTok for years now. Brands, movies, politicians, and more use the platform to sell themselves. As a result, any influencers that command an audience can charge a lot more for their services, even though they generally do not get as many eyeballs as they did when the platform was less popular.
Yeah, and then Ben Klein, who runs the 100 Days digital marketing agency, he said that if you're going to do influencer marketing and you're a label, you have to hire an agency or reach out to creators and then pay them on a one-off basis to post using your song. And instead of running a sped-up song campaign or a film edit campaign that way, you can just launch a page and put them out yourself.
Having all these accounts on hand, fan pages, sped-up song pages, film edit pages, lyric pages, offers a way to circulate catalog and help facilitate music discovery without burdening the artist or having to spend money, Collins says. Baby No Money, to help promote Baby No Money's It Boy, the rapper's team had close to 60 fan pages pumping 1 to 4 posts a day. So says Sam Alavi, who co-manages the artist. They covered a myriad of different content types. Some were anime focused, some were Baby No Money focused, some were clips of old podcasts Baby No Money had done. And then they ended it with It Boy. The single peaked at number 10 on Billboard's TikTok Top 50 chart back in July.
Yeah, I'm glad you were reading that and not me. By the way, Baby No Money, it's spelled BBNO and a dollar sign. I looked at that and went, what the heck? And yeah, well played, sir. When an artist team runs a fan page, they don't have to pay to post there. And when fan pages are set up by fans of the artist, they usually don't, so cheap to work with, according to Arthur Linsell. He's the manager director of Grail Talent. That's an agency that links brands and creators. He said that their dream is to get reached out to by the team of their favorite singer. Give the person who runs the fan account tickets to the tour, and they're going to be over the moon.
Right. So courting fan pages run by fans is the political equivalent of firing up the base. While influencers are mercenaries, their heart is in it as long as the check clears. The people behind fan pages rejoice at the opportunity to be loud advocates for their favorite artists, theoretically helping to indoctrinate others. Fan pages sometimes can initiate interest in an artist, but most of the time they snowball, Lindsell said. It's about getting people who are slightly interested and hyping them up.
In addition, fan pages can shift some of the burden of nonstop social media posting away from artists, or shoulder that burden entirely for those who are averse to TikTok. A lot of artists are just not comfortable using social media, Klein says. In that case, fan pages can serve as a way to get your artist into the space they might not want to participate in, and if they don't want to create content, Spinelli says.
Makes sense. These accounts can also post clips that artists might not want to put up themselves. Jen Darmfall, who's the director at ATG, a management company and marketing agency that runs fan pages for some of its clients, says a lot of artists want their personal account to stay curated. There's a lot of content that will be captured at shows, for instance, that they might not want to post on their main account because it'll look a little spammy. The fan pages can function as a spam cannon.
Right. That's really good. The article goes on to say that while they can do quantity, some marketers fear fan pages don't always produce the eye-catching posts necessary, to hook new listeners. When you find the kid who makes the best film edits on TikTok, he's probably 16 years old and just really likes the aesthetic of Ryan Gosling movies, for example. And that's from Jake Houstel, co-owner of Black 17 Media. The Orchard's top TikTok label. He said that, I would much rather pay that kid $50 to create 6 Ryan Gosling edits for my song and hope that his passion for the actor transforms into truly standout posts. That's smart.
Yeah, fan pages face one other challenge. An artist already has to have genuine followers for them to be helpful. Otherwise, there's no signal to amplify. If fans could be created out of thin air, everyone would be a star. Linzel acknowledged there's a threshold of how popular the artist needs to be. No one really gives a shit if something feels obviously manufactured. So these are, again, challenges that every artist faces or every management team faces, which is how, and the pressure on artists is still so great beyond the obvious of creating and making music that you fall in love with.
Yeah,
so
and we're really big,
times.
In my company, we're really big at engaging with those fans that create these fan pages, because a lot of times they have a large audience, and as they point out in this piece, you engage them. You give them maybe some tickets, or you give them early sneak peeks to videos or to the audio, and they'll bend over backwards to help their favorite artists. So this just takes it a step further, where some of these marketing agencies are creating their own fan pages. I thought that was super interesting. So our final story comes from Andy Vasoyan over at Slate. We don't cover a lot of Slate articles, but this one was really well written. The headline was "Spotify has a fake band problem, and it's a sign of the times to come." These cover quote unquote bands are farming millions of streams from unsuspecting listeners.
Right. So if you ask their shareholders, Spotify is in a great place right now. Ask anyone else, and it's a mess of scams, tone-deaf CEO messaging, and lawsuits. One of the weirdest scams that recently came to light involves, what else? AI-generated content. So here's the gist. Covers of popular songs were being inserted into large, publicly available playlists, hidden among dozens of other covers by real artists, while racking up millions of listens and getting paid.
Yeah, the artist performing, in quotation marks, the covers, the Highway Outlaws, Waterfront Wranglers, Saltwater Saddles, they all fit, a certain pattern with monthly listeners in the hundreds of thousands, zero social media footprint, and some very ChatGPT sounding bios. A group of vigilante Redditors initially found the pattern in these bands covering country classics, but a wider look showed that there were groups covering songs across decades and genres. None of the bands had originals, but a group might cover the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Third Eye Blind and then pivot to Linger by the Cranberries in the same record. If you didn't think the song was AI, you probably wouldn't suspect a thing.
Right. So a Redditor whose name is Calibuilder, who posted the initial thread on the country music and asked to be identified by their handle, said, apparently this has been going on for several years with ambient music and with electronic music and jazz. He said, I think the new thing here is that with AI being this consumer product, anybody can make a thing with vocals now.
Here we go. A lawyer for the company 11A, actually that's the label claiming to be working with these artists involved in the thread. The lawyer said that their client is properly paying royalties, I'm assuming on the publishing side, and has documents that show the involvement of human musicians. He wouldn't reply further, about or comment, and did not offer contact information for the label, the only trace of which is an expired domain and this 117-follower Facebook profile. And the last post was in 2021. Not exactly congruent with the numbers its artists are doing online.
No, so either way, this whole situation shines a light on the murky argument over what to do with this brand of chicanery in the first place. Who should be the one to remove these songs? This time it wasn't Spotify. Spotify does not have a policy against artists creating content using auto-tune or AI tools as long as the content does not violate our other policies, including our deceptive content policy, which prohibits impersonation, a spokesperson said in a statement. In this instance, the content was removed by the content providers.
Content providers. They say that content providers, in quotation marks, could be pretty much anyone on the artist side of things, the quote-unquote bands themselves, their management, the label. But Henderson Cole, an entertainment and music lawyer, suspects it might be the third-party intermediaries many artists use to upload and manage their music across streaming platforms.
Right. He said, I think whoever actually distributes this might be nervous about the reports on it, and they might have taken it down. People are finding better ways to exploit the streaming system because technically this isn't streaming fraud. If they're paying somebody to perform cover songs and then using covers to pull streams, that's not illegal. It's just exploitive.
Well, that's if they're using real people. That's the question, right? So figuring out who exactly is getting exploited here is another mess. Hint, it's always the artist. Spotify doles out royalties from a pool of money, according to Cole. So if Post Malone got 1% of all the streams on Spotify this month, he and his record label, the rights holder, would be owed 1% of the month's royalties.
That would then be divided among the folks involved in creating his songs. For a cover song, that would include a cut for whoever's being covered. But streaming services offer more of that cut to the song's new performer and their label rather than the original artist.
Right. Quote, a lot of people don't realize this, but the government sets royalty rates and then the streaming companies negotiate with the labels, distributors, artists, songwriters, and everyone based on those royalty rates. So the songwriters might be getting some money, but probably not as much as they would like to. And I'm sure they don't love all this crazy AI, these performances of their songs out there.
Right. So, okay, maybe the government can get in there and sort things out. I don't know how you legislate any of this stuff, said Rick Beato, a musician, producer, and YouTuber who testified before a congressional committee about the intersection of AI music in intellectual property, transparency, and copyright. He said, it became apparent to me when I was sitting there in this meeting that it was impossible to come up with a consensus on this.
Yeah, instead, Beato believes Spotify itself is already in the game, slipping both real and AI songs into playlists and harvesting listens to keep a larger percent of the royalty pool for itself to maximize profits. So there would really be an incentive for Spotify to police that from the third parties because they want to be the ones doing it, Beato said, taking up a version of the Spotify was an inside job theory that's been, posited since 2017.
Right. So still the best way to support your favorite artist is to buy merch and go out and see them live. AI can't fake that quite yet, but this is pretty troubling. And, you and I did a story, it might have been 6 months ago, about this artist, Johan Ruhr.
Yes.
And who...
in the Nordics.
I can't remember who... This is an artist, again, essentially no social media presence whatsoever, but has all of these albums and
goes under hundreds of artist names.
Yes, different band names or artist names. And coincidentally, this artist, if I recall, was based in Sweden.
Very close to Spotify, we read.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so, it's... well, we will just kind of try to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we know it's headed
really
that way.
Really hard to tell what's going on.
Yeah, it's certainly headed that way. And a special shout out to Rick Beato, who you and I talk about frequently on this podcast because we're such huge fans. And just as a side note, we talked about him, I don't know, probably about a year ago at one point, and I looked up his numbers and it was like 3.5 million followers. I just looked this last week and it's closer to like 4.5 million subscribers to his YouTube channel. And that channel has brought me so much joy. And I know it has with you too, because you have shared things with me like, oh, did you see this one? And there's one recently that I may watch a second time, which I rarely do. And that was the one with Guthrie Trapp and Tom Bukovac, who are two of Nashville's hottest gunslingers when it comes to session work. And I've had the pleasure of working with Tom, so gifted as a keyboard player as well as a guitar player. But there's so many videos. If you haven't checked out Rick Beato, his YouTube channel, there's something for everybody there. It's a time suck though. You may fall down into that rabbit hole.
Guilty as charged. Yeah, without a doubt. And if you're a musician, that's just so much wonderful stuff there on, just how things were made and how they got certain sounds and all the parts. And it is, as Jay said, it is a rabbit hole. So as we wrap up the show, I want to say if you enjoy the show, please tell one friend. Jay and I would certainly appreciate it. And of course, big thanks to Bandzoogle, Music.ai, Hypebot, and Bands in Town. We certainly appreciate their participation. So on behalf of Jay Gilbert, my good friend, I'm Mike Etchart, and we both say thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week on the Your Morning Coffee Podcast.
You've been listening to Your Morning Coffee, the weekly music news program for the new music business. Join Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart next time for the digital music news you need to know.